Hello and welcome everyone, I'm C.S.Gilmore, and this is Tales from the Gilded Gob. Today we're going to be speaking about expert treasure hunters, also known as the more lawfully aligned rogues. So, when I think of this type of rogue, I'm thinking these are less rogues that are part of, say, a criminal underbelly. Not to say they couldn't have connections there, depending on how you want to go with it. But generally, these are more the lawfully sanctioned rogues. These are the ones that you go to a guild hall in the middle of the city rather than the guild hall in the sewage below the city or in the underbellies in the slums, whatever. Like these are the ones where they're an actual counted as an actual adventurer, not a plague upon society. You're a more respected profession rather than the sort that the town guard is going to be hunting for. Though you could easily go down that line and become one of those less savory sorts. The general idea is you share the same professional things. Maybe you're good at assassinating targets. Maybe you're good at breaking and entering. Trap detect, trap detection, or generally, stealth and scouting. These are the sort of rogues that, yeah, you're going to, like I said, guild hall rather than mafia. You're going to be a actual part of the adventurers guild. There's probably going to be a trainer for when you level up. There's going to be you're going to be a standard sight in the general, especially if you're dealing with a guild heavy world setting rather than more so than maybe some of the others. You like clerics, monks, those sort of things. We usually go to their monastery, their chapel, to gain for leveling up. Especially if you're playing as in a campaign where the DM's doing more of the old school design of D&D, where you actually had to go to a trainer to learn new skills and everything. It was leveling up was more was a little more advanced. You had to have the experience levels, but then you had to go to a trainer and usually pay a guild fee or something to level up. Current D&D doesn't usually use the guild fees ideal, but I still like the idea of like you still go to the guild to be like, hey, I gotta get approved for next level of difficulty. I've proved I can handle myself in a fight. Now I'm going from level 2 to level 3. I've developed my skills more. Maybe you've got a mentor who's like, all right, let me show you how to do this thing now a little more. Yeah, no, you're shifting your weight wrong. Put on your pad shoes so you don't make so much noise. Now try this. Okay, cool. And I also often think of these more respected rogues as, if you ever read The Hobbit, Bilbo Baggins, the burglar. Not not a criminal in any real sense of the word, but he has really good stealth skills, and he fits the bill for, hey, I'm going to avoid detection and help my party out. You're the party member that's going to be the great stealth person, the person who's going to go ahead and scout out the area, talk to spy on the dragon, hopefully, without getting caught and barbecued. You're the one who's going to avoid detection by the enemies and probably go and say, oh, well, the rest of your party got captured. Now you gotta break them out. That's the sort of build that you're probably going to see more of for the more lawfully minded rogues. You're also probably going to be a little more lawfully oriented. Say you're not going to just be like, let's go threaten the shopkeepers for a better discount. You're going to be more. You might still be a little pilfery at times with things like, oh, this could be useful, uh, but it's less malevolent in its intentions, I suppose you could say. And yeah, you're probably not gonna go push the line quite so far. You're working within the law rather than outside of it necessarily. But you're still using this very similar skill set to benefit the party. Let me see. You can do a lot with these sorts of rogues as well, just in general, keeping roleplay wise, keeping the party interacting with your character. Like, why is your character in this line of work? Is it because they had a mentor who took them in? Were they an orphan? The classic rogue setup. Who only they instead of like oh good you got orphaned and then ended up in a criminal underhive. Instead, you were an orphan, but you got taken in by a uh, kind chapel goer or something that raised someone nice who raised you. Maybe you're in this line of work just because, yeah, you're a bit of a frailer. You're not a tank. You're a more frail build, but you're good at what you do, and you still gotta go take care of Granny and make sure that she's being taken care of. Maybe you want to, help the all another classic of you're trying to bring in money to help the orphanage you grew up in to keep going and provide better for the children. You can do a lot of that sort of stuff very easily with the rogue build without being a criminal. And I guess that's really the big difference, though, is just what's criminal and what isn't. Of course, once again, depending on where the party ends up and how your DM's got your scene going, you might still end up as a criminal, but maybe a good criminal type deal. If you're the king you're working under ends up being a tyrant who's also maybe the big bad evil guy or serving the big bad evil guy, yeah, you guys may be technically outlaws and criminals at that point dealing with that, but you're not criminal as far as being a decent human being trying to save the world. Yay! Ah, right. How to go into this some more? Uh, the rogues are an interesting one. Oh, another way you could do this type of rogue. Uh, maybe you were a criminally minded type. Maybe you weren't the best sort, but you're trying to turn over a new leaf. Hence, you're going for more the expert treasure hunter outlook on life rather than the I'm a rogue. You're trying to regain a reputation, regain yourself, redeem yourself. Uh, maybe you're on a criminal probation. Say you're going on these adventures, helping the city out with these quests to get good behavior points on your to lessen your sentence from, say, a death sentence for something you did in the past to well, eventually you'll get to go free through community service. That can be a great way to do the more lawful rogue while still being not necessarily a good person. You can still be like you were the dastardly rogue. You were out for yourself a lot more, but now circumstances have put you in a position where you have to be the good rogue. You have to behave yourself because if you lose your temper a bit, get drunk, and say knife someone in a bar fight you shouldn't have been killing people in. Oh no! Now that paladin that has a tracking spell on you comes over is going to be hunting you down to be like, right, sentence is no longer being deferred. Execution it is. Warm up the smite. Slice. And then at that point, maybe are they going to be able to be talked out of it? Is the party going to help you? Or are they going to be like, yeah, no, he's been in trouble. Take him away. We'll get a new one. Lots of fun there. I still, though, I rather like the Bilbo Baggins approach to being the more the good rogue. You're just there. It's a job. You're just trying to make ends meet. And you happen to have a set of skills that helps with. Yeah, there's a lot of ruins in the area. Some of them are really well locked and trapped, and so a party needs someone with your skill set to help them get in there without finding the traps the hard way, and without having to maybe fight through every monster in the region. Those are the sorts of builds you can go with and give you a whole different branch of role playing with compared to the other standard archetype of rogues. Especially with some of the more recent builds options for rogues in like 5th edition and whatnot, where you can do so many things with any of the classes, really. There's a lot of crossover into all the different builds. But say you want to do a more spellcasty rogue, it makes sense. Your character's more of a law-abiding citizen. You're going to be able to get into, say, magic school a little bit, or get access to those kind of materials a little more easily. So you can learn how to cast spells and things a little bit more to aid you in your job. Now, not to say you couldn't do that, get that sort of stuff as a more evil rogue build, but it would require more. Probably you stole it, or you've got a contact who's a little less friendly, but you made a deal. They give you X training, and you do this job for them. Like, your DM can do so many things with you to make your character development meaningful, and to make it so that your interactions with the party are meaningful. Once again, I've mentioned before, uh, as a DM, you don't want your entire game to just be combat, 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 combat. Some of the modules really seem to want to make it that way, but I highly recommend, unless that's what all your party wants, you want to split it up. You want to have interactions with NPCs. You want to have puzzles to solve. You want to have mysteries to be unraveled, a plot to follow. Maybe your party will completely throw that to the wind and go, yeah, but we're going to go chase after Schmo the Goblin over here instead and adopt him as our party mascot. Completely derail everything, doesn't matter. And you go with it because you're a DM and you got to work with what your party's finding fun. Or if you want to be a little more realistic or vindictive as a DM, you can also be like, all right, well, you kind of ignored the thing. Now it's that means no one interfered with them getting hold of this product of that they needed to say release this seal, and now they've gotten this. And okay, cool. So because you guys didn't do your job, now you've got to deal with this thing, and it's becoming more of the problem that you can't just ignore because it's becoming a more widespread problem. You're gonna get sucked into it one way or the other, whether you like it or not. The soft railroading, as it were, of consequences to your actions have come about, and now you've got to deal with them. A little off topic there, I suppose, but kind of ties in still with the builds for the rogue we talked about, like the rogue that's on parole and has to work under a parole officer to get their job done, to get a deferment of uh, their sentence. You need to do these things, but if you don't, sometimes there's going to be a consequence. And no matter how nice your DM may be or not nice, those consequences could get very severe, both in terms of plot and in terms of just personal consequences for your character. Sorry, try not to sneeze. Whew. Yeah. And rogues are great for that build of there's going to be consequences for your character, probably one way or the other. Because you're kind of walking the line between are you a criminal or are you not a criminal, and how is that going to be viewed by, say, the town guard? Because you might be doing something great, helping the party out, but then something goes wrong. You get seen. You're the one most likely to take the fall as the scapegoat of, oh, they were breaking the law, not us, officer. How are you going to deal with that? And are you prepared to deal with that? Are you able to plead your innocence? Are you innocent? It's just the fun of rogues is in that, yeah, you are a bit of a you're towing that line, or maybe you're playing hopscotch with it. Maybe you're way over the line and you've jumped off it long ago, or maybe you're nowhere near that line, but you just have some skill sets that you're just good with. You're always good at sneaking along. So I guess if you're going too good along those lines, you might as well just be a ranger and still get the stealth benefits, but not the criminal underpinings. That's a tough one. Rangers are an oddball situation of combos between rogues and fighters and stuff like that. But that's a conversation for another day. Ugh, I'm getting tired. I gotta wrap this up. Comments below. Have you ever played that kind of rogue, where you're more of the good guy, or maybe a being reformed bad guy? Are have you has your DM ever thrown you into a world where it's like there's a sanctioned thieves guild, a sanctioned rogue trainer in the city? It's not just a criminal underpining, but rather there's actual lawful work for that type of thing. Because you're in a fantasy world where there's a bunch of ancient, all sorts of weird stuff hiding out in the hills, and sometimes you have to deal with it. Comments below, let me know about that. What have you done with those things? Have you had fun with it? How did it work for you? Otherwise, hit like, hit subscribe to keep up with the releases if you're new here and haven't done so already. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great night, everyone. Bye.